My name is Lenore Erickson. I use Lenny usually, so Lenny Erickson. And I'm here in Morro Bay for a long time, 63 years now. So, it's been about that length of time that I've known Mary Gail.
So how did you first meet Mary Gail and Mildred?
When we first came here, my husband was priest at the Episcopal Church, St. Peter's Episcopal in Morro Bay. So Mary Gail was a member of the congregation. So we met her just, the first day really that we were here, which is just about exactly 63 years ago now. So, and she was a very active member of the congregation. She was probably in her 60s then, really sort of early retired at that time. And we were in our 30s, and
Okay.
So anyway, we met her as a member of the congregation first. Yeah.
So she was there before you were.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so you also met Mildred at the same time?
Yes, Mildred often came with her. Not always, though. It was on a day when she did come out, and it was on their way back that she was killed. Back from church, she was killed at Highland Drive before there was a stop sign there. In fact, that is probably why there is a stop sign there now. They put it in right afterwards.
Wow. So did you know them outside of the church, or just mostly in the church?
Well, yeah, we did. We became good friends, and so then we did things socially. We had them to dinner a lot, and they too, and so we were just social friends as well as her being a congregant. Yeah.
Did you get to go to the house on Dana Street?
Oh yeah, and we were there often, and she was really proud of it. They both were. They really enjoyed sort of living in that kind of historic house, and when we first came, they showed it to us and showed it off. Later on, it became normal, but we were there a lot. Mary Gail would make dinner, or Mildred would. Mary Gail usually made the dinner. Yeah.
What do you remember about that house?
Well, I was impressed too, just at sort of the adobe character of it, and when you walk in, it is immediate. It was immediately also historic. You sort of you catch that right away, and it was interesting too how it was both. It was a mixture of the really old house and additions to it, and modern wooden additions in addition to the adobe, and it was kind of interesting to see how the two blended and were put together. Probably over many years, there were different additions. My son Ethan lived when he was young, just out of high school, I think. Mary Gail rented a the front room. Let's see, as you face the house, it would be front left room to him. That was after Mildred was gone, and Mary Gail was living there alone. But
how long did your son live there?
I think about a year, maybe. Such good friends that were in the sort of tall two-story house just to the left of it. I don't believe. It was. It was not on Mary Gail's property. It was next door.
I think it was the Olsons, maybe.
Olson, yeah.
Yes.
Robert, yeah. They were such good friends, and they lived there. They really took care of. As Mary Gail aged and all, and as Mildred did, they were such good, unobtrusive, taking care of the two of them. When he was really little. Coming with me to Mary Gail's place once, and there were just lots of ladies. He was just like 6 or 7 or something. Lots of ladies sitting around. Mary Gail was seated, but the ladies were sitting all around on the floor, and she was pontificating about something, but he could pick up the real respect that they had for her, and her enjoying the position I think that she was in as well,
She was in a chair, and they were the rest of them were on the floor.
Yeah, right. Another story is when he was very, very gifted in art when Ethan was, when he's very small. Well, I mean, he still is, but he loved comics and kind of comic art, and he was very precocious very early on in drawing. And Mary Gail enjoyed asking him, what have you drawn? If she came over for dinner or something, and what do you have new or anything? And he'd show her his pictures, and he showed her. He said he remembers showing her when he did Wonder Woman, and he made Wonder Woman very full busted. He said, because that's what Wonder Woman's supposed to be like, and she said, Ethan, that is sort of like Nazi art, and Nazi experiments with human engineering, and I mean, she was really especially when Diablo Canyon was being constructed, she was into opposing that, and I knew that there were meetings at her house about that. Yes, be arrested for trespassing. They were real impressed with her. They really were. There may have been one or two who did not like her politics, but they didn't speak up much. But in general, we kind of patted her on the back and encouraged her on, and she got support from the congregation, and it was verbal. I mean, it was explicit. There wasn't, it wasn't just sort of personal. The church, I think made a statement about, we're supporting you, Mary Gail. And she was a leader in the church as well, and so it was important to us that she knew we liked what she was doing. I remember back in the days when pantsuits were just brand new, sort of. I don't know when that would have been. I guess late '60s, and pantsuits were coming in, and people wore slacks before, but coordinated sort of suits. So she took right to them as soon as they were available and in fashion, and so they were up in. I was up that time too. I think the kids were in school or something. I went up and with them and did something else while they were in the meetings, and then when I was to meet her at a given time at the cathedral, so out she comes, at 3:00, and we're to meet, and she was all very grumpy. Oh, geez, she said, what's wrong? She said, I went into the women's room before I came to meet you, and some idiot said, wait, that's the women's room, thinking she was a man because she had this pantsuit on, and she was so. And she did not suffer fools gladly, really, ever in any context. And this was one that she didn't.
I bet. So that's interesting. Were either Mary Gail or Mildred fashionable?
No, not at all. Neither. They all. I'm trying to remember Mildred. I knew Mildred less well. I knew her sort of more social. No, Mary Gail was always in slacks and a blouse and a cardigan sweater. That was her standard thing. And then for dress up, it became a pantsuit. But it was. She was always. I don't think she owned a skirt. And I think Mildred did, and I think I remember her coming once in a while in skirts, skirt and sweater, or skirt and blouse, something. Yeah.
I like what you said about Mary Gail, that she didn't suffer fools gladly. Yeah. So, what can you say? Any comments about Mildred's personality? Did you know her well enough?
Much more, much less. well, what am I trying to say? Much less willing to just put herself out there and criticize somebody or say what she felt. Mary Gail, if she felt that was a stupid thing to do, she would say that was a stupid thing to do, Mildred was much more polite, reticent about giving her opinions. She had them, of course, and probably matched Mary Gail's, but she didn't speak out like that and criticize people. And Mary Gail was gruff, and Mildred was not.
What else do you know about? You didn't meet her until she was older, but what did she tell you about her early life? Did she tell you anything?
I know it was in Wyoming, Montana, or Wyoming. She adored the first woman elected to the House of Representatives, I think, was Jean something. And it was back in, the early 1900s, I think. It was unusual. Well, obviously, she's first. But, so I know that she grew up in kind of a, being aware of politics, and that was part of her life. No, she didn't talk much about it. I do know that she was kind of, she told you that it was a very sort of independent life, and kind of almost the leftovers of frontier values. She liked the she liked the independence of it. She liked the self-reliance that she was taught and encouraged in. It was a conscious part of how she looked at her growing up, was this kind of training in self-confidence, self-reliance, not only socially, but also then in political life as well.
And that to me is so interesting, because today, at least, we always think about rural people as being a particular kind of thinking politically, but she appears to be a rural person who actually embodies that rural lifestyle, but politically did not fit into that box.
And I do think in the earlier days that rural lifestyle matched the democratic values more than it does now. For example, I'm from Minnesota, and there was and early on there was a democratic farmer labor. Farmers got together with labor and made and were the basis of a Democratic Party. It wasn't that name in Wyoming, but there was that. It valued two almost opposite things. They valued that ranching style and all that she grew up in, valued independence and self-reliance, but it also valued community, because it really experienced the value of community. If you were hurt, if you were injured, you depended on other people, and you provided it for others, and you received it, And I think rugged individualism kind of grew away from that sense of community, and has provided a sort of a lack of care for the community, lack of care for medical funds, and nowadays. But back then it was still the ranchers and farmers were still quite communitarian,
Very interesting. Were you aware that Mary Gail was part of starting the Commission on Women and Girls in the county?
I'm sorry,
She was a key person to start the Commission on the Status of Women and Girls.
Oh, yeah.
Did you know anything about that?
Yeah, not much. Okay. No, I don't. But I do know that that's the case. I did hear her talk about that, and yeah.
What can you tell us about the relationship between Mary Gail and Mildred?
Very close. I'm quite sure that they were a lesbian couple. I mean, it was a very, very close and very never any just this doesn't have anything to do with whether they're lesbian or not. But anyway, never had any You never witnessed arguments between them or disagreements or any harsh words. I mean, even ordinarily harsh words. They were just very, very comfortable with each other, very much so, and just valued each other, loved each other. But didn't even seem to have any conflicts that a normal marriage might even have. They were extremely just comfortable. I mean, I think that's the best word for it. They never spoke of their relationship. If they had a sexual relationship, but I'm quite sure that it was, yeah.
Let's see. Any questions that you want to ask?
I want to delve more into whether you have any clear memories of the adobe setup. We got into it a little bit. Carol said she remembered a dining table kind of in the front and a beautiful heart sort of tapestry or painting over the dining table. I'm just curious if any kind of color or sort of physical presence stands out beyond its general kind of historic nature.
Yeah.
Because to us, we've only seen it as a boarded up, mouse poop infested kind of musty building.
Oh, that is so too bad too. Yeah.
Right. Well, so we don't have any photos of the inside when it was lived in and full of life. So we can't really picture it all furniture and sofas or artwork or signs of life.
I don't remember the artwork, but you would come in and that room that Ethan had was sort of almost immediately off to the left and at the front of the house and separate. It was a separate room. That's why it was easy to rent it out. Anyway, you'd come in this way. That was over there, and there was the living room, which was, just more obviously to your eyes as part of the original adobe. And I can't remember what the wall treatment was or if the adobe had been covered up, but you had the sense that, we're kind of in the adobe right now in the living room, and you'd sit around the living room. Mary Gail maybe would be back in the kitchen. Beyond that was the dining room, and then beyond that, the kitchen. And the kitchen, it seemed to me that bedrooms off to the side, and it seemed to me that the kitchen was an addition. I think it was a wooden structure added on, but I do remember sitting around the dining room table, talking, and it was it was not ever dramatically furnished and decorated. It was all very plain and all very in browns or something, all very ordinary, which would match Mary Gail's costume in general, navy blue slacks and a white top or something. But I mean, they were never interested in furnishing. It had to be functional, and they didn't care what it looked like exactly.
And from what we can tell, they had a lot of opportunities to have rental units, either housemates or separate units within the structure or over the garage. And so we think that we know they had different people living there at different times, and we know some of them, we know who they were. But based on what you know about Mary Gail and Mildred, well, how do you think they would feel about our proposed project to build 20 tiny homes?
Oh, I think they'd love it. I do. I really do. I mean, there would be a twinge about not having the big orchard open and just like it was. There always is when somebody has lived in a certain context. You always remember that and value that. But they were both able to see what. To entertain new plans and to not to be so dwelling in their remembrances of times past that they were both, but Mary Gail more so. They were interested in what's best for the community and what how this could be used in a different way now. You know, we had our time, and I'm sure they'd be this way, and. Both of them would. I think they'd really like the thought of it being a low income housing, and it would have to be low income. If it had been done gentrified and upscaled, that wouldn't have been their idea. It would have been for low income, and had they ever entertained the idea, you know, I think they'd love it. Yeah, really.
Well,
We had
nice.
they commented on this, but we had when we came in '60, there was a lady, Mother Roy was her name, and one of the early English settlers in Morro Bay, and her family, her son, Bill Roy, lived across the street and built several houses, some of the old redwood houses in Morro Bay. Mother Roy had one block up and one block over. And then her son designed the golf course. That was part of why they were here. Well, anyway, Mother Roy was in church, and she was kind of our 97-year-old, you know, and she lived on the upside of Fresno, the next block on Fresno, not the ocean side, but this side, but she had a great view out. There was no house across the street from her, and she, I think Mary Gail was talking to her one time, but I heard this or was in on the conversation, but somebody asked Mother Roy, it's kind of too bad that they're building right across and taking away the street from you and taking away your view. And Mother Roy said, "Oh no, let somebody else have the view for a while. I've had it for so long, 50 years. They can have it now for a while." And Mary Gail remarked on that attitude, and she said that is such a great attitude, and it's the attitude she would have had too for her own place, really. No, I think she'd be thrilled to pieces, that something like that could be done. So.